Mongol? Has it been worth it?
100%. I wouldn't have done it any other way. I'm happy with how everything turned out. I'm happy with the break I took. I'm happy with how hard I grinded in the start. I'm happy with everything so far. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future.
Me too. Thank you so much, Mongol. Before I let you go, let me know where we can find you on the socials. I know you've got a whole load of content that people can engage with.
Yeah, just Mongrel on everything, every single thing, Mongrel.
With the 2 A's?
2 A's, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Ok, yo les Gaspitoux, j'espère que vous allez bien. Aujourd'hui on se retrouve pour un nouveau live, on va cast les FNCS, voilà. Hop là. Donc ça commence dans 8 minutes, du coup je vous propose, on joue à Fortnite en attendant. J'ai 30 FPS. Ah, on va pouvoir voir. Bon, attendez, on va pas faire ça. Oh non, oh, c'est galère par contre. Ouais, ça a bugué par contre. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on a? Merstatch, les gars, Merstatch. Je prends lui là. Merstatch. Il me met les bouquins. Paysan. Merstatch, s'il vous plaît. Où es-tu? Où es-tu, Malika? Ah. Là, ça, il m'a les bouquins. Moi je prends Maïbuka et Merstatch, les gars. Yo, Sachal CP, bienvenue à toi. Du coup, là, comme je disais, on va casser les FNCS. On m'entend, moi, sur le live? Ah, ok, on m'entend. Falcon T. Le beau test. Là. Comment dire? Dites-moi si on entend. Tu peux me dire si on entend trop fort? Allez. Je peux vous montrer la spawn map, je pense. Ah, c'est pas là. Voilà. Oh, j'ai hâte. Bon, j'espère que c'est Merstatch qui win, les gars.
Welcome to FNCS Europe. It is Major 1 Finals weekend and I can't wait to get this battle bus loaded up and ready to go. So please welcome my analysts Levan2k and Miniminer.
Toujours les mêmes.
You must be so excited. We're going to be crowning a winner this weekend. Miniminer, do you think it's going to be tough competition?
Oh, it's always tough competition. These sort of finals lobbies are always great to
Demandez-moi ce
watch.
que
We've had
vous...
some amazing lobbies
si
so
vous voulez que
far,
je
but
regarde des
nothing quite
trucs,
compares
ça je peux vous
to this
renseigner.
level of Fortnite. So yeah, we got
Ah
lots to
ouais,
break down and
t'as
lots
dû
to
regarder un
avoid.
truc vite fait.
Well, I mean, the last chance qualifier earlier this week, Levin, that was pretty competitive.
Oh, it was exhilarating. 3 best games I've watched of EU Fortnite this season.
On dirait
I
un
was
robot
on
quand
the
il parle.
edge of my seat the whole time. I'm sure everyone else was. It was a great watch.
Well, we have got great watch for you guys watching at home and around the world this weekend because we've got 2 days and 12 games of epic action. The best of the best are going to be in the lobby this weekend. And so,
Beaucoup, il
the
parle.
guys have, I guess, devised some categories so you know who
Là,
to
n'hésitez pas à
watch
mettre
out
un
for.
like.
And the first category we're going to be
Ça fait
talking
toujours
about
plaisir.
is probably the most exciting one. It is the winner. And Levin, I feel like there's a reason we should all be rooting for the trio that you picked as your winner this weekend.
I think most people have these guys as the favorites to win. It's none other than Veno, Vico, and Flixie. I mean,
Ouais.
how could you not? When you look
Vico,
at the
Flixie,
results
solide,
this
hein.
season, the performances this season, you know, there's a reason why people have been saying they're the EU version of Peter Bocola Richer, right? These guys have been seemingly on top for most
Quoi,
of this
apparemment,
season.
Versace, il a
And
déjà
it's not
changé de
really a
spawn.
surprise when you look at the makeup of this team, Minnie, right? You have the 2 best fraggers in the region, a lot of people would argue. You have Veno, who's, you know, one of the best IGLs, while it being able to frag like his teammates. Like, it's just made sense
Bon les gars,
all season
je
long.
sais,
They performed incredibly well.
Flixie,
The
Vico,
problem is,
c'est
right,
vraiment les
there's a
coups.
bit of a concern now. Because I think most people would have had these guys as the clear favorite to win easily. Now some people are a bit concerned because
Oui,
when you
j'utilise
look at
Google
the current
Traduction.
drop map for the EU finals, they are potentially going to be contested by Teeny, Harris, and Skivvy, which I think scares some people. What I will say, Minnie, is that they're one of the few teams I think has shown they can win a tournament without playing all the games of that tournament, right? They had that one Div Cup earlier this season where they only played 5 games and still won, right? So a bit concerned there, but, you know, I think they're still, you know, going to be one of the odds-on favorites to win.
Yeah, there's still that
Okay,
question mark
du
about
coup, il
whether
spawn
Teeny, Harris, and
ici.
Skivvy will actually land there, but I think you're absolutely right. If there's a team that can make the most of the games that they do make off spawn, if they do end up landing contested, I think that it's going to be them, right? They're picking up so many eliminations. I might as well mention as well that Venner's on 8 hours of sleep, he said, for the first time ever in these sort of lobbies, so he's feeling really good, which is really, really important for them. But yeah, I'm really intrigued just to see what happens with Teeny. I think they're going to land there in the first game, see how it goes, and then maybe dip off elsewhere, but either way, I don't think they're going to be too worried. Okay.
Here's the weird thing though, Mini Mine, you must be slightly worried because you've actually put Veno's trio, I should say, sorry, as your runner-up to win this weekend. You haven't put them as your winner. Who have you put?
No, I didn't actually have them as my winner, but then because of all these changes, Teeny making it through, now contesting potentially, we'll have to see. But I put Malabuka, Ping and Wox
Oui,
as my
Malabuka,
winners for
oui.
this FNCS.
Ça c'est le GOAT
On
les
the
gars.
drop map, on
Là on a le GOAT
paper,
là.
it looks like they have a very,
GOAT,
very
là.
clear
Oui,
path
c'est le GOAT.
to
Oh,
winning
Wox.
this FNCS. They've been performing incredibly well. They're landing at, of course, Night Shift Forest. They're a team that have done very well from here.
Oh, je
They've
appuie
done
sur un
well
truc.
whilst contested and uncontested, Levin. And I think this is the team, this is the main sort of question mark, the main
Qu'est-ce qu'il
talking
fait?
point around this team, because
Qu'est-ce
although
qu'il
it
fait?
looks like we have a great team here, Malabuka,
Qu'est-ce qu'il
IGL,
fait?
we have a fantastic duo in Ping and Wox that are coming to this trio as well. There's still
Ok, ok,
question marks
d'accord.
about whether they're going to be contested by a
Après,
team
tu t'appelles
company as
Malabuka,
well. So
d'accord.
that's really, I think, their main concern for today.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people are looking at Teeny's trio and going, well, if they don't land Flooded and they eventually leave there, they're going to go Demon's Dojo. But I think a lot of people forget in the group stage, those guys actually landed at Night Shift after they landed at Flooded when it wasn't going right at Flooded, right? So Night Shift's a POI that they've been landing at times this season. You know, I had Manabuka's trio as my runner-up, right? I think like those 2 teams and Manabuka and Veno's trios are
Bon les
like
gars,
the 2
j'ai hâte.
teams really in the race for me.
On en parle par contre qu'ils ont pas changé le truc derrière. C'est toujours chapitre 4, saison 2. 3, 5.
Keep up with Manabuka, even if those guys stay unconned, it's just their ability to recover games. Manabuka's team has a bunch of firepower as well. These guys are top shooters. It's going to be a fun battle.
Mini Mine, is part of your
C'est
prediction to do with the
que
fact that you
lui
just won
connaît quelque chose à
Malabuka to the
Fortnite, et je crois les deux là ils savent même pas ce qu'ils ont jamais joué au jeu.
I mean, I'm very impressed. Moustache was, yeah, the one for that. But
Oh, Moustache, I'm
very
so...
close, remember, in
Ah non,
chapter
en fait,
4.
tu connais.
He missed out by 1 point, so I hope that doesn't happen this time for them.
It's just the back-to-back, isn't it? Not the back-to-back-to-back.
Yeah, yes, I think it's the back-to-back, yeah, because of course he won with Moustache in chapter 5. But no,
Allez,
I'm
Moustache.
excited about this trio.
Yeah,
we mentioned
imaginez
about them being
Moustache
contested.
win.
They actually came second second whilst
fait
contested
3
one of
FNCS.
the Div Cup final
Wow.
weeks, and they actually came fourth
Énorme.
whilst contested when landing at Night Shift
Donc,
Forest. So it seems like they do have the strategies. They've been preparing to be contested as well. So I think when you are a team that knows how to play Night Shift Forest very well, and there's maybe a team like TD that come in and don't know how to play it as well, I think you definitely have the upper hand in this situation. So if they are contested, I'm not too concerned either.
Boys, are you in agreement on your next category? The Dark Horse.
Yeah, I
Ce
think
Dark
when you
Horse,
look
il est-
at
elle a dit.
teams that could, play a part in the race to win the FNCS that maybe aren't getting as much shine in that regard, iDrop, Sky, and Score, I think, is the obvious one. There's a lot of people who I think are giving them that respect, and rightfully so, many. I think there's not really much more they could have done, right? Since they formed as a trio, they've looked like one of the strongest teams in the region. They've won tournaments. They've been successfully, they qualified through groups really quickly in Game 2. Like, they have looked incredibly good. Sky and Scroll have been on the rise since last year. iDrop's, been incredibly confident in this run-up. The one thing I will say that really makes me think this team should get more respect as a team in the sort of race to win everything is just how their off-spawn situation looks so good. Uncontested at the Rolling Blossom split. A lot of the other teams that are in that race, right, are teams that now look contested, right? I think Kamiseti, Queasy, we'll get to those guys later. They are contested now. We're not sure what's going to happen with Veno's team and Malibuka's team, right? So these guys have a clear path, I think, for 12 games that really could make them a winning team here.
Yeah, and they've been so good this season. Some of their performances have been incredible. Of course, they won the play-ins from that very drop spot. Of course, the way that they play Surge is going to benefit them so much in this lobby. And I think, looking at their performances throughout the entire season, if you put some bigger names, some maybe more experienced names, onto those placements, looking at their off-spawn situation, everyone in the region would say, yeah, guaranteed to win. If you put a big name on there, this would be more talked about. But I think maybe historically, when we talked about iDrop in particular, he has performed well going into these finals, into these grand finals previously as well. And it just hasn't quite worked out for him there in the finals 11, but I think they're a team that will be looking confident and feeling confident going into this.
Well, guys, why don't we highlight some smaller names then? Names who potentially have the opportunity to be a bit of upstarts in the lobby and to upset these more established, consistent trios that we know and love.
Ouais,
Country
imaginez
Fincheck and Apple. I
Mr.
know,
Civil,
Minnie,
Mongarel,
this is a trio that you're very
Ponzo
excited
Hegel.
about, and Demas, Pix, and Dom, that's a trio that you also would love to highlight, Lemon.
Yeah, if we start, I guess, with Pix's trio, right? The Polish guys on the right side here. They have been one of the better teams this season. They land Pump Power. They're going to be uncontested this weekend, potentially, which, favors them incredibly well. The reason why I put them as a surprise mini is because I think these guys are going to break a record today. A lot of people are predicting them highly. A lot of people are maybe not predicting them too highly. A lot of people are forgetting that all three of them are playing in their first major final. None of these guys have an experience in a lobby as difficult as this. This will be the most difficult lobby these three have ever played in their Fortnite careers. However, I think they're going to break the record for a team in trios playing in their first grand final, right? If you look at Grand Royale back in the day, Kefi, Melody, and PKR came 8th, right? That was the record, another Polish trio, funnily enough. I think these guys are going to beat that. I think they're going to place higher than 8th and set, history to that.
Yeah, and I think that might be a little bit of a concern. Of course, maybe one of the experienced teams might then land on them. Of course, playing in your first grand finals, very, very difficult. But yeah, for me, Country, Fincheck, and Apple, they're the team that I sort of picked as a little surprise here. We saw them win game number 1 of Group 3. That was the most stacked lobby. This is what everyone was saying was going to be the most difficult lobby. They walked through, won game number 1, and I remember in that particular game, they were fighting Veno, Vika, and Flixie off spawn, sort of outside of that drop spot, which is where they're landing today, outside of Flooded Frogs. They held their own. They did incredibly well in that fight. So just all the signs that are showing that this is a team that can perform very well, and they won the game on low ground as well, so it seems like they have all those fundamentals in place. Could they win? Potentially, but I think they'll do a lot better than a lot of people expect.
It was convincing as well, that Victory Royale. They didn't look scrappy at all.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing if they can cause any upsets today. But we do need to talk about a more troubling category, a serious category, because you boys have some concerns. And Mini Miner, I'm already disagreeing about the concern that you have, because you said that Nebs, Pink, and Tino might have some issues, but they've got Demon's Dojo. They've got experience on their side. What are you talking about, Mini?
Unfortunately, they haven't had experience of just performing that amazingly well this season, Frankie. They've played 35 finals games. They haven't placed better than 4th in any of those games. overall the main concern for me from this team is that we haven't seen them do that great this season. We haven't seen them performing incredibly well. And also, we talked about it earlier, Levin, the fact that Teeny's team, they might land there at Demon's Dojo. It looks like they're uncontested right now in terms of pink, but Teeny's team, if they're struggling maybe at Flooded Frogs, they might move over to Demons. If they're struggling at Night Shift, they might do the exact same. And even Haijo's team, I know they were landing there earlier on this season as well. So that for me is the main concern. We have a team that isn't quite performing that great. Now could be contested. I'm not too sure that this is going to go too great for them.
Yeah, the one piece of credit I'd give them is that they have 14 team off Spawn, right? You know, they played against them in a couple of different like open qualifier type stuff. And for the most part, they won against those guys, and I think that's part of the reason why Teeny and them initially haven't sort of gone back to that POI for the most part. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't think they've looked that great as much as a trio I really like, and I think there's a lot of potential there if they continue playing with each other, stick with each other. They're a team that, you know, again, they're going to have to prove all of us wrong because the results just haven't quite been there on paper.
I feel like the way that we should be testing all of the trios in the lobby is the Teeny litmus test. Can you survive being dropped on by Teeny's trio, Mini?
Yeah, that is really going to be the question mark for today. Not even just Teeny, there's a few other trios that might be landing in different drop spots as well. So yeah, that's going to be, he could really cause some upsets here, which is what I love. I love the fact that the drop map is not set in stone and we don't know everything off the bat.
All right then, Levin. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I need to know who you're concerned about. I mean, I already know, but why don't you tell the audience who you're concerned about, you know?
My concern team is a bit of a different type of concern team because I think this team's going to do good, and it's Tayson, Trulex, and Chicho. I genuinely think this team's going to walk away probably in the top 5. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw them came 3rd or 2nd, right? But the problem is, for me, with this trio, is that when you actually look at consistency, there's not many teams that have been as consistent as these guys. I think they've actually been the 2nd most consistent team when you're looking at teams who have actually placed in like top 10 performances, right? The only team that I think has more top 10s and set lobbies than these guys this season is Veno, Vico, and Flixie, right? So, you know, straight off the bat, they're going, okay, Levin, so they're a consistent team. That's great, right? That isn't that like a team that you think can win then? The problem has been win conditions for them. They get into top 10s, but they're not actually able to convert them into like top 3s and top 5 as consistently as like other top teams in the region, which is a real big concern for a trio as experienced as these guys. When you look back at, you know, last year, Trulex and Chicho were incredible when it came to surging, consistently making it end games, but you know, when it came to actually like delivering on those win conditions, they weren't good. And so what did they do? They carried medkits, right, to sort of get them through that. They've not been doing that this season. I think we could genuinely walk away from this, you know, tournament going, these guys are in the top 5. They've had a great, you know, weekend. They played 12 out of 12 games, but actually going, no, it should have been better, right? If you're making it that consistent to end games and you're a trio on paper as good as these guys, you should be winning a lot more games, and they just haven't quite been doing that. And that's my worry. If they can't figure out how to win games and turn top 10s into top 3s, they're not going to contend to win.
Yeah, I think so too, but I mean, looking at the names, I mean, we have Taste, Trulex, Chicho. If there's any team in the lobby that has experience, it's going to be them. If there's any team in the lobby that's going to figure out how to win here in the finals, it is going to be them. And you mentioned it, they're going to be making their end games more consistently than not. We're going to hopefully see them pick up a win, although they haven't been doing it. Hopefully, because they're putting themselves in the positions to do it, they will pick up 1 or 2 potentially over the 12 games. And also, the way that the lobby's shaping up, the way that we don't know who's landing where, we don't know where Teeny's landing, we don't know if some of our top teams are maybe performing that well. So maybe Vico, Veno, and Flixie are only going to have 9 games this weekend. Maybe Malibuca's team are only going to have 9 games this weekend. If you're a team like Taste and Trulex and Chicho that are going to consistently get top 5, top 7s performances like we've seen from them this season, I think they'll definitely be up there, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think.
But are they going to disappoint Levin by not being number 1? That's now what I'm convinced of, because Levin, it feels like you're almost like their spiritual coach, because you want the best for these boys. You're just not seeing it quite yet.
I couldn't coach these guys. These guys are too good. They know it all except for how to win games, which is the problem, right? You know, it's like a team this good should be a team more people are considering to win. A team that's made it to top 10s, the 2nd most of any team in the region, right? Like, of course these guys should be considered to win, and I'm just not seeing that, right? And I feel like, you know, that's problematic for them. But, you know, we'll see how they weather that storm.
They got 2 days to prove themselves, and prove themselves to you in particular, Levin. Now, earlier today, I had a little bit of a rendezvous with the amazing Nico from Gentlemates. He's actually streaming a watch party right now, so if you want to watch all the action in French with him, you can do that. But keep us open on a tab, please, because otherwise you'd miss the interview we're about to watch. Nico, first of all, thank you for joining me. And second of all, tell me what it was like to stream the Last Chance qualifier, having 2 trios competing to try and make it to the
On peut voir l'accent incroyable.
I mean, it was so stressed. I don't know, like, I was like, okay, maybe our trios, that's not gonna happen. We're not gonna qual, but I don't know how.
Attention à l'accent. Hein.
Everything seems to be perfect these days, so no, I'm so happy right now.
Ça va, il s'est un peu amélioré.
But what about in game 2 when you then had Podesai's trio versus Vanyak's trio trying to qualify within the same game? That must have been crazy when they were going head to head at the final.
I don't know, because it was weird because we knew one of our players gonna qual, but one is not gonna qual too, so I was like, okay, do I celebrate or do I feel bad for the other player who doesn't qualify? It was weird, but everything is going like we want, so that's fine.
But in that moment, when you are watching your two trios fight, do you have a favourite deep down that you want to qualify more?
No. All my players is like my children, so no. I
Tu vas me
like
dire
them all.
tous mes joueurs sont
Not
mes
the
enfants.
children, but I
But they
my
are like
players.
your children.
Qu'est-ce
You
qu'il
are
fait?
the manager, you're the boss, and you
Yeah,
want the best for them. You're obviously doing a good job because you have so many players who are competing in the Major 1 finals this weekend. But then, of course, we did see another trio. Akira's trio did qualify through. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Vanyak's trio, I should say, qualified through the third game. So for you, when that happened, that must have been an extra relief.
Yeah, I was like, okay, now everything is covered, so we just need to win the finals now because the World Cup is in France, and that's it. That's gonna happen.
C'est facile, no?
C'est
It's gonna be
facile.
easy.
Vous allez voir.
I say easy, but there's a potential Osborne showdown between your players at the Kappa Kappa factory. We need to pull these players apart and guarantee these spots at global championships, Nikov. You need to have a word. Do you get involved with the guys to say, you know what, Vanyak, you know what, Mersash, maybe let's not con each other at Kappa Kappa?
I mean, it's the game. Like they are in the same team, but they're not playing in the same trio. So, I mean, I can't say anything about this. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, but it needs to happen. It's gonna happen. I don't know. My heart is broken right now, but yeah, that's it.
I think your trio is making it through to the Fortnite Global Championships may heal your heart a little bit, so we'll hopefully heal that by the end of this weekend. One last question for you, because we've been talking about these Osborne battles and Lost Lake. There is going to be quite the contestation, because we know that Cami, Seti and Chari like to drop there, and so does Podesai and his fellow teammates. So can you just tell me how you think that's going to go? Have you given the boys any advice?
I mean, I don't need to speak. Just watch.
Just watch.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. But you believe that they can win that Osborne fight?
Of course. Of course.
Always.
I'm not gonna say anything. You will see.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Nikov, and good
Thank
luck
you.
to all of your players competing this weekend, because you've got a lot of
Thank
them.
you. Have a nice day.
So if any of the 5 Gentlemates players represented in the lobby this weekend makes it through to Global Championships. Now, we should talk about some of these Osborne situations that we did mention just now. Cami, Seti, Chari, they have basically got Lost Lake on a lockdown. Is that all right, Mini Miner?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's been going so far this season. As a
je vais dire
neutral,
Nico.
I'm very, very happy that Podesai, X-Squeeze and Akira have qualified through to this, because I want to see this Osborne Battle 11. I want to see it replayed. So far, though, you're absolutely right, Frankie. It hasn't really gone the way of Podesai and company so far. They've been losing a lot more often than not. And even other teams maybe that have come in, like some of the other Polish teams that have come in, they haven't been doing great against them either. So it's a little bit of a concern for me about Akira, X-Squeeze and Podesai, but from my perspective, Akira's been doing really great. He's the shining light in that trio that could help them in this finals weekend here.
Yeah, it's really interesting how this has sort of played out. I never really thought I'd be going into an FNCS final where Cammy and Seti are contested, and I still probably would expect them to like top 10 and do really well, right? But that's just how things have sort of gone in the balance of things. You know, they've been doing incredibly well here. The score is well in the favor of Cammy and Seti and them. But the problem, you know, sort of arises where I think it's probably gotten a bit personal now. It's been the most juiciest bit of drama we've had in the competitive Fortnite scene for a while. And I think the problem that Cammy and them might have now is just that you have a team in Akira's trio that they've almost lost sight of like winning FNCS and competing. They just want to win this off spawn battle, right? Like they have so much pride in that sense, whereas Cammy and them have to worry about winning this off spawn battle and actually trying to compete and win FNCS as well, because they are a team of that caliber. So we'll see how things play out if they can keep on, you know, dominating off spawn, but it'll be a tough one.
Percentage-wise, then, what are you thinking between these two trios? Who's going to be taking it most of the time, Levin?
Well, I still have to go in the favor of Cammy and them. They've just been so dominant off spawn, which again, it just sounds weird to say that, but you know, they're building up their off spawn aura here this season.
Okay, but are we saying like 80-90%? Are we keeping it more 60-40?
Ooh, I don't know. Maybe like an 8-4. Maybe in that range.
Yeah.
An 8-4. Your height, Levin, mini minor.
Yeah, I'm not 8-4, unfortunately. Yeah, I think honestly it could benefit Cammy and Seti as well. We've talked about Cammy and Seti not having great off-spawn history. And we talked about Cammy and Seti not necessarily getting so many eliminations. Of course, that's where Chari comes in. That's sort of the point of Chari being in that trio now. And I think if they can win 9, maybe 10 of the off-spawn battles and come out of their 10 out of the 12 games, it's going to help them so much. They're going to get so many of those elimination points. They're going to have so much surge as well. And I think it's just going to benefit them so much. So this could be the missing piece of this puzzle of Cammy, Seti, and Chari.
Well, we have another puzzle over at the Kappa Kappa factory, because in terms of the mate showdown, it's Mursash versus Vanyak, Levin.
It is, at least on the drop map, but as I've elaborated on before, the drop map can lie.
Oh no.
And I think this is one of the ones where it will lie.
On là
Because
sur
I
un
don't
débat là.
think Queasy, Suzy, and Moustache will
Parce que
stay
j'adore
contesting
Moustache, mais
at the Kappa
Moustache
Kappa
me
factory. I
rappelle
reckon they go back
mes
to
petits, j'aime bien
Seaport,
aussi.
where they were landing before, and contest Mumsy, Skyjump, and Shakos. Now look, when you look at the eval that happened this week, they did fight off spawn at Kappa Kappa factory against Vanya's team, and they actually dominated. So like, low-key, it wouldn't be bad for them to stay if they can keep that stretch going and just beat those guys off spawn and get that early damage and the 3 points. However, you know, I think they only wanted to go Kappa initially because they thought it'd be uncon, because they thought Vanya's team wouldn't make it through LCQ. But now I think if you're going to contest, why not just go back to the POI that you were already landing at? You have all the strats there, and you actually beaten Skyjump's team more often than not. I think the score there in set lobbies was like 13-9, something in that range, right? So I reckon Queasy and them don't actually land Kappa.
Yeah, and I think the C4 City is a better drop spot to contest as well. There's a lot more loot there. There's a lot sort of more elevation. I mean, we saw that when Vanya's team actually was uncontested at Kappa factory in group number 1, they actually struggled there. They didn't actually have that Storm Surge prowess when it came to the fighting in mid-game. So I think almost Vanya's team might even think, although they didn't get the best performance out of them in terms of the Eval Cup, I think they might think, right, you know what, let's get Queasy here. Let's allow them to contest us and maybe win a few of these battles off spawn. But yeah, for Queasy's case, definitely back to C4. That's where I'd land if I was him. I think they know that drop spot very well, and we know how they play out there, whether it be contested or uncontested. It seems to be very well nevertheless.
Well, you mentioned Queasy, you've mentioned contesting, and that really brings us neatly into one of the key win conditions for this season of FNCS, because the Shogun Showdowns on the island have been delivering, especially for our most competitive trios. We're talking about your Queasys, about your Venos. Levin, why don't you talk us through why this is such a crucial component of anyone's game plan right now?
Yeah, the story of the Shogun's Arena has been interesting, because at the start of the season, nobody was paying any mind. You know, I spoke to some pros and they were like, yeah, it's not like Loot Island. I miss the old one, you know, I'm not landing on this junk. And then I think a lot of people quickly realized, wait, we shouldn't have made any judgments too quickly. This thing is absolutely insane, because there are so many advantages that come with it. Some of the advantages we actually saw with the old Loot Island still applying here on this one. First things first, positionally, it's so strong, right? You know, in terms of being able to get surge, get damage, right? If you know, obviously fight up on the island, a lot of the time it's an isolated 3v3. So if you're a better fighting team, you favor yourself there. If you're alone on the island, right, and it pulls towards congestion, you're up on that elevation, you can just ping at people all the way down and they got no real chance of doing anything against you. Obviously, you can refarm up there. There's some loot, there's some barrels, some spare shields. Like, there's just so much on the actual island and benefit from just being up there itself that make it so strong.
Yeah, we've seen it with the previous island. So many teams will just benefit from just being up above the rest of the lobby. Yeah, you get the refarm, you get all that sort of stuff on that old island. This island is even better because although on the old island we had like a bunch of different teams going up there, loads of different people in their little boxes, this island realistically only one team can go up there. You don't have the zip lines that we used to have previously with the old island. So everyone has to use that sort of wind updraft to get up there, which means that if you're a good team, if you have those assault rifles, those hollow ARs in your inventory, you can just beam them out of the sky, which we see so often happen. So once you are on that island, you claim it for yourselves, and as Levin broke down, you save so many materials, you save so much in terms of that storm surge ability as well. It's such a prime position for our teams, and they'll be looking for it today.
Levin, how much of a game changer is the medallion?
A huge one. When I've spoken to pros about it, there's been pros that literally have said it's a guaranteed top 3. Like, if you can't top 3 with the medallion, you're doing something wrong, because again, being able to have that infinite sprinting, and while you're sprinting, you're just invisible. It's insane. The one thing I've loved about it is the amount of solo clutches we've seen with it. Like, I've genuinely seen so many games where like someone from 8th zone will just have it, and they're like able to like either win a game or like top 2, which is mental when you think about, you know, clutching and trios and how much harder people thought that would be. It's so good, not just for clutching, but actually when you're making plays to maybe like take height in end games as well. We've seen teams use it there to cause chaos. So yeah, it's another really big benefit of going up for the island.
Yeah, the clutch that springs to mind is that no Raider clutch that we saw. I think he came from sort of like 10th all the way down to like 3rd position. I mean, you're not entirely invisible while using it, so people still can see you and sort of spray at you, but just the shock factor that people have when they sort of go in a box, they think they're chilling and, oh, look, there's another player in the box that is going to eliminate me. So, yeah, it's going to be so vital. And I think we've seen a lot of that from Vico, Veno, and Flixie as well when they're taking height. Usually Veno taking it, we've seen how it goes wrong previously as well, but just being able to lurk on that sort of side of height where the teams maybe aren't looking whilst your 2 teammates are fighting, having that person that's just sneaking up the back, not being seen, is so beneficial for taking height.
I'm going to be really curious to see how many times Veno's trio does get the medallion today, and actually we can take a look back at the trios that have been taking the Shogun's Island so far. Minimine, you've got a bit of a map for us, and we can see where it's been spawning.
Yeah, well, there are 7 different set spawn locations for this island, and they're sort of spread out sort of north, south, and maybe middle, if you want to sort of describe them in that way. And what I find really interesting about the way that these sort of operate, they kind of have very similar spawn rates, so that's not too important, but the players and the teams that are actually going for these islands, usually Levin kind of correlates to where they actually end up landing. We see iDrop's trio, of course, landing more towards the south of the map. They're the ones that they're going to be claiming more often than not. Same with Vico up on the north, and Queasy more in the center coming from Seaport. But of course, you know, there are more elements to it than just claiming and eliminating that boss.
Yeah, it's not as straightforward as that. I think a lot of the top teams, as you'll see, are going to be the teams you've seen up there the most, right? This is, you know, a map showing just in terms of like who actually eliminated the boss up there, Shogun, the most, right? Because as we've seen in other games, you can actually get the benefits of playing for the island without being the team that eliminated the boss. We saw that obviously in the group stage when Queasy's team won, they didn't eliminate the boss, but you would consider them an island team in that game, right? Because they went up there and benefited from it. I think the key thing here is that some teams like it more on certain pools. When I've spoken to Queasy, he likes it more on far pools because on, you know, zones that are in or around Seaport, they can just get their search in Seaport on the island because
je fais un truc là.
They should be playing for it.
Non.
Well, guys, before we get started with game 1, I've got an extra category for you. Quick fire. Who is going to be taking the most victory royales this weekend?
Arrête. Ferme la porte.
I think I'm gonna say Vico, Veno, Flixie because they're gonna make it out of that drop spot and they will win when they make it out.
Levin.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one. I'd agree with that one as well. I think the thing that's really interesting is just like the early games will just determine how this Grand goes. Where is Teeny actually going to land, and does he stay there? Is I think really what I'm trying to figure out in the first sort of 4 games.
So we need ourselves a Teeny tracker. Levin, are you volunteering?
I will be straight in the replays, tracking Teeny for sure.
The biggest man in the game is the Teeny tracker. Thank you so much, boys. I've learned so much already, and we've got so much to show you guys at home this weekend. And to talk us through all of the action, we have the wonderful Takata and the fabulous The Best Taco.
Oui. Gamin.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Setting it up perfectly
Donc,
from
attends.
the desk.
Ok,
Look,
ok.
it's time. The major finals are
Pas fini.
here. Last chance qualifiers shook up everything in terms of drops for
Attends,
these
j'arrive.
top trios competing. Taco, are you excited?
Dude, these map implications are insane. Like, what were we witnessing after everything that took place in the last chance qualifier? And now to see all of our teams that are competing in this Major 1 finals essentially have to last minute shake around some of their surge strategies. Just overall, I think that this map is about to be insanely played out, but I'm really excited to see how it impacts Shogun's Arena directly. I mean, the desk hit the nail on the hammer with that.
And you won't have to wait long because the battle bus is ready. So let's get right into the first match of the day.
Look, Takada, who needs words because the gameplay might just say it all for us, okay? Match number
Allez,
1.
c'est parti.
And this is the moment that everybody has been waiting for. All of these players can see that victory royale in their sights, and they all want to be the one to bring it home.
Oh yeah, looking at this bus drop as well,
Aïe.
I wouldn't be
Aïe, le
surprised if,
contest.
just as we can see on the screen, a Lost Lake engagement right off the rip.
Allez, Camille, tu dégages.
Steady,
Dégagez
very
Camille.
up
S'il vous
against
plaît. Allez,
Podasai,
Podasai.
X-Squeeze and Akira. This battle means a lot, and we don't have to wait long for the action to commence. Cammy,
Bravo.
with a few big shots connecting, is going to be enough to take
Oh,
down
bon, ils sont
X-Squeeze,
morts.
and now a 3 versus 2 is going to come through.
C'est dommage.
As Podasai has
C'est
to be
dommage.
careful. Chug Splash is getting used. The pressure is on.
Ah, quoique, l'arrière peut passer.
The problem though, it's only Podasai going for the revive.
Oui, Akira. Oui,
Unfortunately, he's
Akira.
been separated, and Shari
Mertach.
bound to come under some
Mertach qui fait
duress.
un kill.
He's lost his shield
Mertach qui
entirely.
meurt.
Seti, the only
Souci.
healthy-looking one in this exchange,
Mertach qui
but
tue
he's trying to see if he
Chicoz.
can break through the walls first of all. He
Seti
knows
qui
he needs to
tue
back him up.
Emmett.
Squeeze gonna get knocked
Akira qui
yet
tue Charlie.
again, and Cammy, relentless as ever, just
Ok.
skirting all around Lost Lake.
Mertach a l'air d'être bien parti. Camille, Camille.
Has been
Ah,
finished.
c'est
Cherry
Camille
has
qui
been
meurt.
finished, and just like that, Cammy is gonna get cracked.
Akira
It
qui
looks
tue
like
Camille.
it's gonna continue. I was gonna say it's a
Allez,
2 versus 1,
Akira.
but it's all up to
Nah.
Seti as he's gonna get eliminated as well.
Bien
And
joué.
dominating
Le
these
contest
previous
gagné par Podasai et
engagements.
Akira
Cammy,
et
Seti, Cherry, they were
Swiss.
11-3 going into this, but starting off the major finals 0-1 in favor of Akira, X-Squeeze, and Podasai.
This is about more than just winning game number 1 here at Takada. We are talking about some national pride taking place, okay? Frenchie versus Poland. And so far, score 1-0 to the Frenchies. We'll see how that strike back occurs later on, but shifting things on over here in Seaport City, we do see the map has in fact not held true. Queasy's trio has taken over.
Yeah, we talked about this. Were they really going
Yeah,
to drop at
cringe
Kappa Kappa
mapping.
Canyon, or were they going to go back to their roots as we head back on over to the brutal boxcars as Mappy, Cringe, and Cade have a difficult situation? I'm trying to see in terms of elimination advantages, though. Cade does have an elim, so although in terms of
cousin.
heals, in terms of shields, they don't look too healthy.
Qui a
They do have that player
été
advantage,
qui
but
contre
Yue has got to
Escavi.
be careful as Teeny
Ouais, bah,
has gone
Teeny qui
down, but
gagne.
it doesn't matter because Skavi and Haris
Teeny.
have finished this fight off at Shogun's Solitude.
Aïe.
And the nice thing about those eliminations taking place at Shogun's, they're so far southwest, so far out of the rest of the action. They have got to be quick still with making this
Là, on
reboot
peut
play
voir-
for Teeny,
on voit
because there
Panzer et
could be
tout ça.
trouble on the horizon brewing from that bird
Panzer,
location.
on
Got a
Graal,
glimpse of it
Savage.
just now, but Savage's trio is bound to have caught wind of what just took place at
Alors
Shogun's.
eux, je les connais pas.
Oh yeah, looking at Warriors Watch as well. There are, as you can see, trios contesting each other.
Ok, Radeon.
Savage dropping so close by. It could be an opportunity
Allez,
for them to
Radeon.
get some as we
Italien.
look at Predage right now
Et
on the
Avoc.
elevated position here, trying to crouch around to see if they can get a sneaky angle onto one of the opponents. That initial pump shot can be
Allez, Radeon,
enough
tu peux le
to
faire.
take home the fight.
I like this positioning right now, though, from Predage and Radion. They're also trying to keep
Avec
a
Radeon.
viewpoint on
Allez,
that
Radeon.
mountain range. Make sure that no one is trying to third party this exchange either. Predage knows that it is all too easy for, say, the likes of any of those mountain teams to essentially scroll on over, but they're also just so patient. But when you spend this much
Oh là
time
là.
out finding eliminations to
Oui, il met des bons dégâts.
could be trouble.
Yeah, in the early game,
Ah, Radeon
it's
qui
all
prend une
about
grosse balle.
efficiency, right? And these trios are using up a lot of time for this battle.
Le joueur académique
Looking at
de
Brannick,
chez
Kaisers and Dynus, this
de
trio
Avoc.
actually that Rax is going against. It's their first FNCS major finals, so a lot of pressure is on the line, which
Là
is
on a
why they might be
qui?
playing a little
Ouais,
bit
je
more
connais pas
scared
trop.
per se. As we look at Lucy here, who looks like, in terms of Pixofsky and his trio at Hopeful Heights, I was
Oh
wondering
le
how this
laser
engagement would play
sur
out.
Atsapov qui prend un
But
gros
so
laser.
far, a fight is
Oh là
gonna
là,
be
il y a
commencing.
un HP.
Onimask is gonna be attempted
What, c'est
to
tout flou.
escape, but with just 21
ouais.
HP, I'm
Ah,
not
il
sure
prenait
if
un
it's gonna
TP.
be enough to get out. But the good news is, at least one player made it.
Surely Lucy, Loki, and Monet, though, are not content with allowing Adams to
Allez.
survive in that scenario. It'd be
Oh,
a lot more
ces
likely
teammates
to
qui se font arracher.
anticipate potential camping
Un
of those
HP, je
reboot
pense.
cards instead.
2-3
You know,
HP
with a
pour
solo,
son
you know
teammate.
he's gonna be really easy to pick off,
Ouais,
but
ils
they
sont
might
morts
not even give
malheureusement.
him the chance. In fact,
Ici,
Lucy,
moi je
Loki,
pense. Oh, quoique,
Monet,
ils
all
se
too
font.
easily closing
Ils sont
in.
backstab, je crois.
They've already got one. Going for the full eliminations, not possible just yet. Managed to hide behind the body, but Monet closes that gap, no problem with those Onimas.
Oh,
Still,
il se
one
prend
more left to go.
Vaniac.
Gonna regroup now.
Vaniac
See
et
if they
Pixie
can get a bit of
qui
space
mettent
here.
le
So
focus là,
interesting, the
le laser et
whole
tout ça.
battle that's commencing on
C'était
this
Vaniac
east
et
side of the
Pixie.
map. I mean, there's what, at
Quand tu
least
vois ce que
3,
met
4
Vaniac,
trios contesting each other back to back.
comprends. Mariusco
So
derrière.
it really just comes down to third
Veno.
party in these engagements and staying up.
Veno,
And look,
Vico.
the big
Vico.
talks in the lobby. Vico, Veno, Flixie already getting aggressive.
Je pense
as
le
we look
trio
for
le
a
plus
wall
fort
retake here and
des
the options
FNCS.
to get those couple of eliminations to start this one off.
This is huge, though. This is not a place that you would necessarily expect to see Vico, Veno,
Ouais,
and Flixie
et
so
Vico.
soon. Upple's team now
Donc,
doing what
one
they
up.
can to try and survive. Upple nearly getting a peek, but
Ok,
he's
mais une
gonna
petite balle.
whiff, doesn't get the shot that he needs onto Vico.
Petite balle
And
de
Vico
Vico.
still continuing to hammer away with
Petit,
that pressure.
spam.
Wants to ensure that
Tous sous
Upple
l'HP.
has his options for escape cut off.
No
Ils ont
full
l'avantage,
commits
ils ont
are coming through. As
l'avantage.
you can see, Veno
Ils ont la
is
hauteur et
still
tout ça.
playing fully elevated, even looking at the surroundings, trying to kind of
Ok.
push away any
Flix et
potential
Vico
third party as Fennec is
à deux
trying to
contre
get shots, as they
F1,
kinda just take these
N4,
back and forths
IK.
in somewhat of a soft engagement, not
C'est
fully committing yet.
imprononçable.
Fincheck knows.
Attention, il y a une
Gotta
team
be
à
able to
côté qui peut
provide
venir.
some sort of
Il y a une team à
supportive
côté qui commence à
measures
venir vers eux.
here, especially once one of his teammates gets so cracked, but Vico,
Les flèches
just
jaunes là qui
so
arrivent.
healthy, can continue to apply so much pressure against Fincheck, trying to get this
Pourquoi ils arrivent en
right side
sneaky?
angle opened up here. Instead, going to look for a reposition because it
Là,
appears as
vous
though
voyez?
another third party has decided to tango with the mix. It's Clownsky and
Oh,
Moneymaker,
oui, voilà, voilà.
and they're cutting off
Moneymaker.
positional options right now.
Ah, c'est
for
Moneymaker.
Venom.
This is where it gets dangerous. Veno's now cracked. This could be tragic for the leading trio going on into this match, as Veno is going to do a good job of regrouping. This was key. Veno was staying up top, elevated the whole
Ils se sont
time,
fait
so we could
backstab
see
par,
this third
par
party
Moneymaker.
come through, which gave him
Oh!
that time to react. And it looks like Vico
Quelqu'un s'est
might
pris une
have
grosse
even
balle, là,
been
je peux
able to
voir
take
qui
out
c'est.
Clown. I saw a big pump shot come through, but no knocks, no eliminations yet as they continue to go on up.
From Hunter to
Clownsky,
Hunted,
là, qui a un
Clownsky
HP dans
just
l'arbre.
barely gonna manage to escape with this
Ah non, il est
life,
pas
but
dans
it
l'arbre,
might
il est dans
just
une
be
box.
a temporary relief. Vico
Ok.
already looking to give chase. Moneymaker incredibly low as well. What initially looked like
Moneymaker.
such a
Il est pas très
promising
bien,
option
Moneymaker.
for Surge has now turned
Veno
entirely
qui
against
continue à
them.
spam.
Veno, Flixie, Vico just continuing with their
Là, ils vont
onset of a
rota.
barrage up against the likes of
Et non,
Moneymaker's
parce
team.
que
Now
il
we
était
can see
déjà
if
là.
they can get any connects with the
Ouais, non.
AR. They're not in
Un peu de
zone,
lag sur le truc.
but this isn't an issue for this trio. The
Hop
good
là.
news is they are going to kind of disengage
Vico.
a little because they've already gotten so much damage, not only from that initial pump, but from the trades they had before in that engagement. So
Vico,
no
Veno,
need to
Flixie
kind of
qui
continue
lâche
the
l'affaire.
pursuit as now they can refocus
Grippé.
up on getting back into zone.
That must Surge. Wouldn't be
Creepy.
surprised to see them even venture back towards Flooded Frogs. They are fairly notorious for liking to double back to their starting point, just knowing how much loot is likely still left over. Grippe, Noms, and Rizoi, though, kind of holding strong. They've got
Pink et
fishing
Chino.
rods, Takata, but with the way
Aizen.
that the zone is pulling, it might be
Attention à
difficult
Aizen.
for them to actually find
Je crois qu'il était
opportunities
tout
to
seul.
actually get those fish
Ok, il
online.
met quelques
because
dégâts.
teams already situated deeper inside of the zone are bound to try and hold edge when they know that there's
Il
water
devrait
spots
mettre le
flourishing for
petit
other
truc
teams
là.
to fish at.
Le
On the
petit
other
esprit là.
side, you got trios like Payson, True
35
Lex, and Chicho,
HP.
who don't have to worry about being in
135
zone because they're
HP.
so central
True Lex.
on the map already. This is a trio that have consistently, like mentioned was Levening, gotten to the top 10. They can make it to end games. They've got their surge strategy down. They've got their rotates down, but it's all about improving that end game playstyle, being
Il est
able
tout
to
seul.
secure the win, not only making it,
Ah non,
but
il-
getting
Ah
what
bah
truly
si.
matters to
Pourquoi il est
take
tout
home
seul?
a trophy in a major final of this
Wox.
caliber.
Wox et Ping.
This is another team, though, that's really been the talk
Wox,
of the
Ping,
town as of
Malibuka.
late. Wox
Oui,
specifically, just recently having moved directly towards France, so now he's actually going to be in a zero ping location, and zero ping Wox has been delivering to Kata. It has been impressive to see the way that his overall performance has seemed to really just shot through the roof as of late, and that's not to say that he was doing poorly before either. I mean, Ping and Malibuka, with those guys by his side, this
Ah,
is a
le
trio
voilà.
that seems like it's really firing off in all the right ways in every direction.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna love to see this trio get fraggy in endgame. As you
Sky
know,
Scroll
having
et
uncontested night
Drop
shift
qui
and
vont
so
sur
many
Lishui et
trios
Moon.
fighting in the
Moon.
surrounding area, they're gonna kind of
pense
look
que
for
c'est
those
mort pour
third
Moon
parties,
et
get that
Lishui.
early game surge, but we'll see how that continues forward as now Sky, Scroll,
Ouais,
and
3v2 ils peuvent rien faire.
might
En plus, c'est pas
be
des.
in. I was gonna say a
C'est pas des
pickle,
petits
but
joueurs en
it seems
face.
like they are actually the aggressors in this situation. It's Monet, it's Lucy who are kind of trying
Oh
to
là
run
là
away
là
here.
là.
The problem for Lucy
C'est
and
mort pour
Monet
Lishui.
is that they opted for such a
Oui,
deep
Lucy.
south approach to third party the teams at Hopeful Heights that now they're making an approach
Sur les
that has to
tortues.
push directly into where Scroll, iDrop, and Sky already have the luxury of setting up to cut them off in advance. So with that in
La Storm.
mind, iDrop, Sky, Scroll, they're just
La
gonna
Storm.
keep probably following this edge of zone as long as they know that there's a team back there continuously having to
Ça, on dirait
take
qu'on
more
aurait
and
dit qu'il y
more
aurait
of
la
the
Storm.
steady ticks of zone or storm. It's just going to pose even bigger issues for Lucy's team that are going to be all too easy for iDrop to capitalize on.
Yeah, and not only that, they need to reboot their trio, right? They need to get another member back in the game. So finding a way to not only get back into the storm, but have an opening to bring your trio back with iDrop, Sky, and Scroll just looking back at
Comeback.
zone is going to be incredibly difficult.
Mariusco,
I even
Maniac,
see
Pixie.
Pixie,
Non, Amélie,
Marius,
on
and
l'a vu à
Vanya
droite.
here on the other end, looking quite healthy here.
Cat Matt's definitely a really solid position to be. Especially
Moneymaker,
hanging out
Moneymaker
right
qui
here.
se fait down.
Can't say the same though for Moneymaker. Just
Par
watches
Malibuka qui fait un kill, on a vu là-haut. C'est Malibuka. Malibuka qui a tué le Maker. Malibuka qui va rush Gingembre. Malibuka.
Avery is done for. Not a single chance of getting out.
Merstach qui tout
of
cringe. Merstach qui
back in
tout
sight.
cringe.
Malibuka walks Ping, gonna clean that one up incredibly fast. And just like we were
Nice.
mentioning previously, now that
Pour moi, les
Malibuka
gars,
not only had
c'est
all
soit
the loot from
Wox
Night Shift on Con, they were able to
ou
find
Merstach
three
qui
eliminations
gagne les
going,
FNCS.
whether it be a third party or even just
Moi,
hunting
je pense
down
que les
a trio,
trois qui
and
peuvent
now
gagner les
they can
FNCS,
play
c'est Merstach,
on
Malibuka et
congested
Vico.
side. They can get to the late game looted and they can start getting fraggy when they need to.
Ok, Mr.
As we
Savage.
switch on over to Mr. Savage, Mongrel, and
Avec
Panzer,
Mongrel
who also
et
already
Panzer.
have one elimination
Oui.
on the board.
An elevated
J'ai cru
position
qu'il faisait
on the
rush.
mountain span
J'ai eu
that
peur.
overlooks Canyon Crossing.
Podasai qui meurt.
And
Ils sont
one
entre
big thing
kills,
for
ils sont
Mr.
entretués.
Savage is that coming out of Bird
X-Swiss
uncontested,
qui
they're
tue
going to have to
Kyle.
make up for that surge elsewhere. Mongrel, on the other hand, this could be a
Radion
huge
qui-
problem.
Radion.
Facts, trying to see if he can run
Le trio de
down.
Radeon qui pêche le trio de Mr.
now going to
Savage.
see if he can help out. Mongrel has to be careful.
Attention.
Do anything you can to rebuild hard builds here.
Ils sont
to
très mal.
keep Mongrel alive. Apply the
Radeon, là,
pressure onto
qui-
the opponents, onto the aggressors. Give
Oh,
Mongrel time to recuperate his
qui se fait
shield,
laser
and just
par
like
one-up.
that, it was enough time. Radion's now been cracked. Rax getting some shots in
Se
as
pris un
well.
laser par
This is
l'arrière.
perfect
Ok.
for Mr. Savage, Mongrel,
Mr. Savage
and Panzer
contre Rax.
with a little bit more time to breathe now
Savage
to
contre Rax.
recuperate the shield that they have lost.
Qui va win.
Things still don't look great though for Panzer.
Le
Mr.
Ramon.
Savage, really the only one that's relatively
Oh,
healthy. He's
il y a
trying
une
to
grosse
get
balle sur pied de Ramon.
big chunk out of Pradage's HP and does succeed. Pradage now realizing
Panzer.
the kind of dire measures he's
Quoique,
in, doing what he
peut-être que
can, dropping as much as possible.
pêche peut se
Knows that he needs
retourner.
to create a little
On sait
bit of
jamais.
space here, needs a chance to try
Le
and
pêcheur
regroup the rest of his
tué,
team,
le
but
pêcheur
Mr.
pêché.
Savage, Panzer, Mongrel, they need to close this one out. The issue is Mongrel just doesn't have whites that he can
C'est cette baie
recuperate
en haut.
with. And
Nathan.
now they're drawing a little bit too much attention.
No whites, no knocks, and as you were alluding to at the bottom right on the mini-map, you can see a whole other trio is getting closer. They heard the noise, they heard the shots and said, you know, I'm interested, I need some damage, what's going on over here? As now they're gonna have to quickly decide what's the play here. We need to find whites. We need to get to a safe location so we can recuperate this shield we've lost. It's not worth it to stay aggressive.
They also just don't have mats. And they spent so much time taking that fight on the mountain.
On dirait qu'il y a même Pixie sur l'île. Marius Coven et Pixie qui prend le médaillon.
They didn't find those eliminations that they needed, those crucial
Là, ils
refreshes.
peuvent faire un clutch de fou. Hein.
Their mid-game now looking
Je crois que
a little
Chico
bit
et
worse,
Tyson.
but it's not something that they can't recover from. It's just they know that there's going to be a fight that they're going to have to commit to at some point soon, as Marius taking full advantage of all the advantages Shogun's Arena has to offer.
We've talked about this Rift Island that has Shogun's Arena on it. Not only are you able to get the medallion if you take down the boss, if the zone does end up closing around this arena, you get free moving zones where you don't have to use mats. You get a 360 first class ticket to the whole lobby in terms of looking for surge tags. You have so many openings, you get so many advantages, so being able to hold on to that island is very beneficial.
Ils ont tous pas beaucoup de vie. Hein.
To Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstash, who are still inside of Hopeful Heights.
And for this trio,
Ils peuvent mourir de la zone.
there were such high expectations.
Ils peuvent mourir de la zone quand même.
When it comes to
Okay.
an IGL like Queasy, people just expect him to be able to manifest greatness from anywhere, especially after that global championship performance. Arguably one of the only individuals in this lobby
Ils ont
that was
réussi à
able to
contourner, je
give a
crois.
contentious run for that first place position. And here he is
Skye
again,
drop scroll.
trying to make it all happen, all odds against him, and he will never care.
We'll hope to see that
La Storm qui est là.
in the late game as we go to iDrop, Skye, and Scroll. Now,
700 au-dessus pour Skye à droite.
Kind of split right by a bunch of other
Ils
trios
sont
that
là.
are contested.
Ils sont bien là.
Seeing how quickly they can kind of go from looting their drop spot to
Normalement, tous ceux qui ont
instantly
fait
looking for a third
quelques
party,
kills,
it gives them
bah, ils
kind
sont
of that
bien.
advantage of having so many openings for tags that now they're put in a position where they're 630 above surge. They're in a good uncongested side of zone and
Sur
they can play
Stanny,
incredibly
sur Stanny.
safe, but Shark on the other end is gonna
Il
pick
tue
up
l'un des
a knock,
favoris.
was below surge,
Il a
now
tué un des
instantly
favoris. Hein.
bumping himself up 267 above.
Oh là
Ziad
là.
is cracked, Ju is cracked, Shark is the only player that
Qui
even has a
est-
sliver
qui est
of shield, and
Shark
now they have to
qui
take
vient
some
de-
time to recuperate it.
But
On l'appelle
Pixovsky
Shark.
recognize the fact there's another team on higher elevation that's still choosing to spray into the box fight that's taking place right in front of his face. Shark aligned with this team yet again, hoping, but it's Rads who's in the real pressure mountain.
Le met un HP.
Trying to scramble
Oui,
around
oui.
these edges, and he manages to finally break into the box, but
Ok, une
Ju
petite balle.
doing
Je sais pas comment,
everything
une
to
petite balle.
make
La zone
sure
qui met du
that he
2, faut
doesn't
faire
go
attention.
down just yet.
En plus, zone plus Storm, ils sont morts. Ils sont morts. Ils sont morts. À moins qu'ils mettent des dégâts, mais là c'est zone plus Storm Surge, là c'est mort. Hein. 143 en dessus. Ouais, là ils sont morts. Nico en plus qui arrive, ça va pas arranger les choses. Ça va pas arranger les choses. Ils prennent aussi la Storm. Ouais, ils ont 0 kill. Ah ouais. Ah mais attendez, peut-être que... Ok, non, c'est bon, ils sont remontés au-dessus, parfait.
Looking pretty tough here, Takada, with a healthy Mr. Savage on the horizon, who's also likely desperate for a fight.
Yeah, you don't want to be held here. If I'm Veno, Flixie, Vico, I want to make sure to recuperate that shield, get myself into zone, and then look back and take shots at all these trios, all these players that are going to be staggered, rotating in on late. Now that they've elevated themselves closer to the zone, it should
que je suis en live.
to do that needed damage, but they are still
Je fais ce que je t'ai dit tout à l'heure, je commente les FNCS. Regarde.
Flixie just continuing to look back, spray the teams
Quoi?
that they'd already gotten in
Non,
front
c'est
of.
vrai.
Mr. Savage though looking a little bit too split from the rest of his team. Mongrel as well, trying to see if he can escape. Venom holding it down inside of the tunnel, but first and foremost, he's got a date with Mr. Savage, maybe directly underneath this box. Instead, no, continues to just hold down this route, hold down this escape path, because he wants to reunite instead. He wants to get out. This is not a good choke point for them to fight in.
Valentine's Day was yesterday. Today's not the day to go on a date, as Panzer now is left alone as a duo alongside Mr. Savage. All the builds that blocked them off is not gonna give Panzer the time to make it back into zone. It's now a 3 versus 1. Can Mr. Savage get out of this situation against the most fierce trio in the lobby?
Venom needs this too much. He's not gonna let Savage escape, and sure enough, Panzer elimination comes through. Venom just continuing to break some of these old metal walls from behind him. Gonna grab the mats, take full advantage of all the goodies left behind. And they're gonna need them, because with so much focus now being put towards the exit of this tunnelway, they're probably gonna have to burn a decent amount of mats.
Looking over at Chino Nebs and Pink. Also further away from zone, long rotate ahead of them, almost no materials, put into shambles. They need to force a fight, all or nothing. They look to get inside the box, they need to get those connects. Nebs goes down, it's all up to Chino and Pink now as the pump comes through, but it's not enough for the knock. Pink left as a solo to finish this one off. Can he do it? As another shot comes through, the edit from the ramp causes him to take down one. One more player is left, but his duos, his team are getting eliminated one by one, and now it's 2 solos that have to make it back.
At this point, Pink has essentially got to play it out as if he's just a solo for the remainder of this lobby. He might be able to survive an okay map refresh, but Podesai lingering just behind. He's going to opt for the blind TP instead. He knows that there's still one other contender to deal with, and Adesito, Water Sprite going to buy him a little bit more shield as well. But Pink, he's in no position to really look for any opportunity to get searched. He's going to have to depend on the 271 above that he's holding onto right now. And so many players already boxed in way better positions are bound to pinpoint that this solo is way too separated, way too easy to pick off.
Be careful though, on the other end, Venom flexing, they've lost Vico. Venom goes down as well. The top trio, everybody had their eyes on them going into this lobby, and Flexy, the focus is on him as he goes down as well in 8th zone before securing basically any placement points. Will this be devastating for the trio, or can they make a comeback later as we look back onto Pink, who secured that solo elimination now with enough loot, enough materials, and I mean enough rotate capability to make it zone.
This is actually huge for Pink. The fact that he's got this
je peux fermer la porte? Merci.
means that he's going to have more charges than the rest of the lobby to play
Pink,
around with as far as his teleports are concerned. He can continuously choose to commit towards a frontside low position. Unlikely that he'll be able to actually make a realistic charge for height, just because teams that play up there are going to be obviously trying to focus out the solo in the lobby, but he's doing an excellent job at buying his team more placements.
Ok, Pink,
Yeah, you can even use kind of the recycled builds now of the players, the trios up in front of him rotating in. As we look at a replay of how Venom, Flixie,
du coup, c'était un
and Vico
replay.
end up getting eliminated. They were just going for a fight that got third party with so many trios having the eyes on
Ok,
them.
c'est bon, je le vois là.
As
C'est en
now,
train de prendre le high.
good high ground. I saw Queasy
Okay,
and his
Malibuka
trio
encore là.
looking for it, but we're gonna keep our eyes on Ping, Malibuka, and Walks. Over 1,000 above Storm Surge. Look at the elimination count on this trio. Are you kidding me? They are ready to make something happen.
L'ami de Wooks.
Yeah, the only reason they're not on high ground yet is because they chose not to go for it.
Stage,
They're
Squeezie qui prend
fully
le high.
aware of what they're capable of when
Oh là là.
playing through the low ground layers, likely
Faut
looking to
qu'il le
just
maintienne par
enter
contre.
a challenge for height with as
Tyson
much material
qui
as
force.
possible, because knowing that Queasy is in your lobby is going to
Attention, hein,
change
s'ils réussissent à garder le high,
entirely
ils
how
peuvent
teams look to try
win
and
la game.
approach these height takeovers.
If there's a guarantee, if the Queasy's gonna be up in the clouds with Merstash and Swizzy, they're gonna be looking
Qu'est-ce que
down,
c'est que ce
they're gonna be shooting
stuff,
second
Squeezie?
height, they're gonna be controlling
Oh.
that elevation.
Non.
You can see them already claiming different
C'est quoi ce
elevations,
stuff?
claiming different angles, applying pressure onto
quoi ce
all the
con?
other potential trios that might want to take it as I drop Sky
Ouais,
and
je
Scroll now
comprends.
choosing to play more in the
C'est pas que
dirt
c'est un
here,
bon
but
pompe.
they're not the
Oh non,
only
non, non,
trio.
non.
This makes
Oh,
sense, though.
on va
They're
pas
trying to
attaquer
control the
Wooks.
front side of low. We've seen
S'il
them
vous
do
plaît.
this numerous amounts of times
Pas attaquer
all throughout
Wooks
the
et
Division
Malibuka.
Weekly Finals, and one more time they're trying to see if it can be the catalyst for their game plan here. Ping, Malibuka, Walks though, they're looking to meet head on anyone that dares try and challenge them for the low ground.
Ok, mais non, ça s'inverse là. Oui, ça s'inverse. Bien sûr. Car vous touchez au champion de PNCS, qu'est-ce que vous voulez faire? Pixie, on le voit en bas à gauche là. Nathan le grand Merstach en high round.
Sprayed by Queasy's trio, Vanya, Marius, Pixie though, from making it through in the last chance qualifier to now, already starting off strong, going to make it back in the finals, but Malifaux is gonna go down. They were looking so strong with all the loot, the eliminations they had, but it's all up to Ping and Walks.
And Ping knows he's got to wait to reunite with his teammate before he can opt to use the last of their splashes. I drop similar position, 6 splashes. If anybody can get this elimination onto him, it could be massive. Instead, he's trying to burn through, trying to make sure that he can shift just one layer higher, just one placement further. That's really all it boils down to.
Toujours Merstach et position high. Hein. Oh, mais les bouquets. Oh là là. Ah là, mais Ping. Wox. Oh la vache. Voilà, surtout Lex et Chico. Wox il meurt. Wox, je pense qu'il va mourir. Ouais, voilà, Wox il meurt. Mais qui récupère un kill. Ok, Ping qui récupère encore un kill. Allez. Allez, là on est dans le late. On est dans le late game là les gars. Merstach peut win la game. Ils sont sur le œil. On ira voir le classement juste après, à la fin de cette game. Oui, il doit récupérer un kill sur Ninja. Nathan sur One Up. Mais il va mourir, ok. CZB. Allez, c'est pour trop de personnes. Mariusco qui récupère un kill sur Eclipse. Oh là là, CZB qui se fait tuer par Mariusco justement. Merstach qui tue Airdrop. Merstach qui tue un autre mec imprononçable. Oh là là. Merstach qui a un pomme gris. Merstach qui refait le kill encore. Mais oh là là. Arrêtez-le. Je pense que le premier top 1 sera pour Merstach, les gars. Allez. Mariusco. Merstach, les gars. Merstach le vote. Je pense que j'ai arrêté le live.